to Nerdily Ever After,
a married couples podcast that has nothing to do with being married,
but everything to do with all things nerdy.
I'm her husband, JJ.
I'm his wife, Michelle. So you always hear the phrase, opposites attract.
Well, that is not the case for us.
JJ and I have many of the same nerdy interests.
But we thought, why should we keep these interests to ourselves?
When we can make a podcast showing off these to the general public.
Tabletop RPGs.
Wargaming, most notably, Kings of War.
Movies and TV shows.
Don't forget anime, too. So we decided to break up our show into a few segments. So what is our first segment, JJ?
Well, it's a segment called Battle Rapport. We're going to use to talk about Kings of War and, any other war games we're playing in general.
Awesome. Yeah, we definitely have had a lot of fun so far with Kings of War. We're very new at it. We've only been at it for a few months, but everything we've done with the game has been so much fun, just trying new armies and meeting people. The people have been the best part. Don't you agree, hon? Just meeting nice people to game with.
Yeah, because unfortunately there is some difficulty, especially when you're wargaming, that especially when you go to tournaments, it's sort of difficult to find decent people. Well, especially because, Michelle and I both play, getting people who are decent to the both of us. Because it's just sort of annoying that it's like, oh, she's a girl, she can't play. It's just like...
It gets so annoying. I'm just like, that shouldn't make a difference. I am the same. Let's keep playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love this game. It's very simple. The rules are easy to learn. And, you can play elves without feeling like, oh, well, I got a crappy army that's just going to die. That's not the case in Kings of War. They actually are really, really tough to beat sometimes. And they're really strong, too. So the main reason I like elves is their elite skill. And basically what that allows you to do is re-roll all your hit rolls that are ones. That comes in handy. It's actually saved me a lot of times, and I've done a lot of damage because of that skill.
Yeah, the elves are really interesting, but I wanted to make sure that I was playing a different army, so we weren't just, mirror matching ourselves over and over. So I tried out the Abyssal Dwarves at first. They're a pretty good army. Unfortunately, I just can't figure out how to play with them. Or they're just, I guess maybe they're just not my play style. Because there's a lot of... I like to have a decent amount of shooting and be able to go up and punch someone. And unfortunately, well, because of how Kings of War works with all the different heights of units and things like that, the dwarves have no, taller ranged unit. So it's very difficult to have infantry versus infantry near them in melee, because I was trying out a formation that made them pretty good at it. And I couldn't shoot anything, so they would be useless the whole game and then get squished by your little tiny dragons that are mean. The
Dragon Riders.
Yes.
They are awesome.
Those were probably your favorite unit of the elves, just about.
They are the toughest. I think that is the one problem with elves. They can be a little squishy, but you can fix that by having some Dragon Riders and also just having one or two hordes. Because if you've never played Kings of War, the biggest thing is the nerve waiver value. That's how you determine if an army is dead or not. Yeah. And if you typically have a horde, the nerve waiver value will be pretty high. But Dragon Riders are not bad. I mean, 15, 17 is nothing to sneeze at, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, that was the other reason I kept it. I wanted to try something other than the Abyssal Dwarves. Because you kept putting enough wounds on them with the Dragon Riders that they get wavered every single time. If I could shoot, they'd end up being wavered, and I just couldn't do anything. So I started combing through the different armies and looking through and seeing, all right, what army does the entire army not have a waver value? So you could either do Undead or Empire of Dust. Looking through Undead, I saw, okay, so it's a lot of infantry, you got vampires, you got a guy on a dragon, blah, blah. I look at Empire Dust, it's, you got a skeleton scorpion, a giant guy called an Idol of Sobek that has an aura that makes everybody have a special rule called Iron Resolve, which heals them if they don't get killed, essentially, for this army. You've got bone giants and bone dragons and all this other nonsense, and like big vultures that heal themselves when they attack people. So I went with that one. The funniest thing is that I used the dwarf models I was using for my abyssal dwarfs, which are actually old, just regular dwarfs from GW. And the best thing, we were getting started, and a friend of ours, Brian, we were having a practice game before a tournament down here in Georgia called Siege of Augusta. And I'm like, yeah, I started painting everybody. I got them all. I got like a nice theme for them. They're sort of Aztec based, so the entire army is sort of copper colored, and then I've made them look like they've oxidized a little bit. It's like, oh yeah, dwarves used for undead. This is gonna be awesome. And then literally Brian starts pulling out his regular undead army, and they're dwarves. And I'm just like, thanks, man. Thanks. Because I was like, I'll look this up online. Has anybody done this yet? And I can't find any pictures. And I'm just like, yeah, all right, awesome. And then, all right, well, I guess I'm not that original. So that was, but still, they've been having a lot of fun with them. And the recent update, because that's the other really interesting thing about Kings of War, is that there is a yearly update called Clash of Kings that adds more rules that adds more units and clarifies some of the rules, changes them around a little bit to make them a little more balanced, and also adds in artifacts you can use for your different units and things. But that happens every year. So one of the big things for Empire Dust in particular, I got this essentially a thing that sits there and drains life from people that I can then also heal other people with. That's really cool, that I've been having fun kind of testing out. And I think I'm also looking at, for next army, doing Forces of Basileia, and using mostly these things called Elohai that are sort of like angels, and just flying around and beating the crap out of things, because it looked like fun.
As you do.
Yes.
But yeah, I've been having fun with the elves, and I actually bought a Reaper mini that's like a dragon. I think it was called Viridius, But anyway, It's really cool looking, and so it was perfect for my budget. I didn't have to spend like over $100 like you typically do for huge minis.
Yeah.
But, for like $30-$40, I got a really nice looking dragon. And I'm like, well, I really like Spyro. And it was kind of fresh in my mind because I just started playing the trilogy, the new one that came out. So I'm like, I'm going to paint him to look like Spyro.
Later in the episode.
Yes. But yeah, I really have enjoyed painting the dragon. I've enjoyed playing him. He's been great. I've played him with, a different couple times. I've done the Tidarian Dragon Lord with him. I liked that with the 2018 Clash of Kings. But I've actually liked the Mystical Dragon with 2019 a little better. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm very happy with having a dragon in my army. It's just so awesome. Just this big thing gets on the table, and everybody wants to shoot it, and they can get distracted with that while I'm doing the objectives.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like, the fact it's very interesting how you build your army, because almost you can have these big units just to distract people. Like the Idol of Sobek thing I was talking about for my army. Everybody's just like, oh no, giant stompy thing. I don't think I've used him in combat that much. He's pretty good, but excuse me, I went through puberty for a second. He's pretty good. But honestly, because of his thing to give Iron Resolve and the fact he can heal and all this other stuff, it's like I just keep him in the back ready in case somebody, comes around behind my lines or something like that. But yeah, no, Kings of War, we're having a lot of fun. I can't wait for what next tournament we're going to be going to is going to be Discover, which will be a lot of fun, and we'll probably talk about that in another episode.
Yeah, that's going to be great. I really think, these tournaments have been so much fun. And even though I got last place, I still had a lot of fun.
Getting last place, you got more...
I got more stuff than the people that won. It's kind of funny how that worked. But basically, and the loser got to go to the prize table first. Yeah. So I'm like, wait, what? I could pick anything off this table? So, of course, I saw a real expensive, miniature. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get that.
Yeah, and you got like $100-something miniature for free.
Yeah, I was very happy about that.
Yeah.
Just had so much fun, too. I didn't worry about winning so much. Just mostly, having a good time.
Yeah, which is great. And even just talking, well, it was so funny. The first round for this tournament, we got 2 people who had won, best in the region. Kings of War is set up in different regions, and we're down in the southeast. And we had gotten the 2 guys who had won, previous years. For the first time ever played in this tournament, which honestly, it was a lot of fun. Just learning stuff, because the guy I was against, Sean, he was playing Undead too, so even though I think I had one thing left turn 6, usually Kings of War runs about 6 or 7 turns, or even though I think I had one thing left turn 6, I learned a lot, and he actually gave me some ideas for how to set up certain units that I had in my army, what I should do with them, getting a better idea of how I can use the units to their best ability. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I actually got to play with someone similar who's also known for winning and had a really hard army to beat, and I actually did pretty well. I didn't win against him, but I killed 750 points of his army just because I strategized really well. I built my list really well, and he actually complimented my list and thought it was really good. And the biggest thing that really helped me was the Jar of the Four Winds artifact, because basically, if he couldn't get to me, I could still shoot him, even though his whole army was just 100% shooting. There was no chance of winning, but it was so much fun, learning, and it's just great, yeah.
Oh, speaking of that artifact, I found building a list the other day. I thought of something evil, because the Empire Dust has the Enslaved Guardian archers. I didn't realize their range is 36. You can still use the Jar of the Four Winds.
Oh, wow.
So I could literally have a 48-inch.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about trying that for a build. So that should be kind of fun.
Definitely. Oh, my gosh.
So, let's see. We've talked about Kings of War. We've also been trying out their new skirmish game, Vanguard, a little bit.
Yes. I've watched it played because I was sick at the time.
Yeah.
But JJ's actually played it. So, what did you think, JJ?
Well, I liked it a lot. It's a good skirmish game. The rules are simple enough to where it doesn't bog down anything, but they're complex enough to keep you entertained. It strikes a good balance. I do kind of want to see how a campaign's run with it. I'm afraid I'm not quite there to where I could run something. But it has one of the really nice things about it is about 80-90% of the rules have the same name as the ones in Kings of War, so it's very easy to pick up if you played Kings of War. The only issue is that 10% of rules that are kind of new, some of them use names that are in Kings of War, but they don't do the same thing. So that can get a little confusing, but not too bad. And elves are still evil. Because the buddy of ours, Brian, I was playing against, he had elves. And he had, normally you're doing for ranged attack, you're doing 4 or 5 shots. He had set up his guys to where he activated 3 of them and shot one of my leader 16 times. And that was the shots that got through his armor and everything. And I think I was trying out the Basilean army, which you basically change around their save to be really awesome. But I did not save a single one, and I just got shot to death.
Yeah.
Elves.
Elves are nasty.
Can't wait to try it again. And
Definitely. Hopefully I'll get to play this time. Won't be sick, because
Yes.
it looked like a lot of fun.
It was. We'll get, you can get some elves, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Got plenty of elves.
Elvises. Anyway, so also, I guess a kind of a last note. For anyone listening to this, and maybe we got you interested in Kings of War, there is a... would you call it a game or like a desktop app?
I mean, I would call it more of an application. I mean, yeah, it's technically a game, but you're always running an exe file when you run it, so I'd call it an app.
Okay. It's called Universal Battle 2, and it's basically an online way to play war games. It doesn't have... Basically, it has very basic ways to make units. You can also roll different size dice and things like that. It gives you a basic platform. It doesn't do everything for you, but it gives you the tools to be able to do stuff yourself. You can make your own maps, miniatures, a bunch of other stuff. So it's a really good thing for, hey, I have a cool idea for an army, and I don't want to spend, a couple $100 getting an army together.
Yeah.
Which is, it can be an issue with wargaming, especially when we were doing Age of Sigmar. It seemed like everybody bought the army first, then tested it out, and you ended up wasting a lot of money.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So for Kings of War, it seems like people are more willing because it honestly doesn't matter what miniatures you have out. It's your base sizes and what you say it is. So it becomes much easier to proxy by just using base sizes. So no, a friend of ours does just uses cardboard cutouts and everything like that to make it much, much easier for being able to practice. Like, oh, I have this wild idea for a list. Let me practice it a little bit to see what it does. And Universal Battle allows you to do that, and then you can also sit there and have miniatures, and it also has sort of the line of sight on there and a bunch of other stuff. It's a really, really nice app. So I highly recommend it to anybody that hasn't already heard of it.
Yeah, we've used it a lot, and I think that's how I tested the idea of what would happen if I did a bunch of Drakon riders.
Yes.
It actually doesn't turn out as well as you thought, especially if somebody else has built an army that goes against them. Because 15, 17, nerve, value is pretty good, but they can easily get killed off if you send them up too fast. You got to be kind of strategic with the Drakon riders, a bit sneaky with them, Don't send them up too soon or too late. And I'm still figuring it out myself, but it's kind of hit or miss sometimes with them.
Yeah, and that's kind of our biggest thing for both of us. Is we're just still. Kings of War is one of those games where it's very easy to learn the rules, but hard to master. And we're trying to get to where we can actually master the rules so far, and it's going pretty well. I mean, we've only been playing 5-6 months at the most.
Yeah, not long at all. I'd say the most fun we've had yet is the co-op game that we did together.
Yeah,
that was great. We haven't been able to do that yet, but we were able to run an event at our local shop, and we were able to do a co-op game. And it's so much more fun when we can strategize together and come up with a plan, and it's really awesome.
Yeah, no, honestly, next year there's a tournament called Blue City Brawl I really want us to go to, which would be a lot of fun.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. All right.
So on to our next segment.
All right, so this is our movie segment called Nerdy Flicks.
Okay, so we've watched a few things.
Oh, good Lord, yes.
Basically, we've been struggling, back and forth trying to find something on Netflix to watch. So we've decided to get DC Universe instead for a while, just because we really like the DC cartoons, and we want to watch that season 3 of Young Justice, and we think we'd get more use out of that than Netflix at the moment, so we've purchased that.
Yeah, I know it sounds kind of weird, but we've kind of gone through a few things for Netflix, and then, well, especially because we watch anime, we watch cartoons, because, you know, that's what we do, and we watch superhero stuff. And unfortunately, I'm not a huge fan of the Marvel TV shows.
Yeah.
They're a little too, like, for me at least, a little too dark and depressing, and just like, I don't want to get into this. Because it's hard after a day of work, with my work in particular, to then sit down and like, I'm going to watch something really depressing. I'm like, I get enough of that at work.
Yeah.
So I like watching, happy things. Or at least, if it's a little bit depressing, there should be some light at the end of the tunnel. And
exactly.
From what I watched of, I think, Daredevil, it didn't quite seem to have that. And then seeing the previous of The Punisher, I'm like, And then also the Umbrella Academy, just seeing the previous for it, I couldn't figure out what the heck the show was about.
Yeah, like when you read the description, it didn't match the trailer, like, at all to me. I don't know if maybe they did a bad job with the trailer, but I was like, this isn't what I just read. I don't know,
It's like this, it didn't even seem like it had anything to do with superheroes or anything.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, okay, but I thought
that's what this was.
Yeah, because I kept reading, I read a couple articles that, it was, what's the name of the show? Oh, Doom Patrol, that's right. I read a couple articles saying, Umbrella Academy versus Doom Patrol, because it's, and watching the previews for Doom Patrol, it's like, oh, okay, this is obviously superhero / family / guy rebuilding himself. I really, really liked the preview for Doom Patrol, which was one of the reasons like we wanted to try out the DC Universe thing.
Right.
Because it also had Brendan Fraser being back in acting after all of his poor nonsense he's had to deal with.
Yeah.
And then I saw the trailer for Umbrella Academy, and I was just confused because part of it seemed like a serial killer thing where the guy was really into mannequins for some reason, and it was just...
It looked weird.
Yeah, but not
in a good weird.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is disturbing. Like, I don't know about this.
Yeah, it was just, what? Superheroes? But, no,
So we've kind of just like, there's nothing on Netflix. We watched Castlevania 2, and like, that was so good. And I think maybe that's part of it is we're like, well, something is about as good as that, and we can't find it. So
yeah.
I mostly just watch anime anyway, and we've already got that with Verve, which, speaking of anime, we have found an anime that we both like and cannot wait for the next episode, The Rising of the Shield Hero.
Yes, this is like a weird take on the in anime. There is the standard I've been transported into a video game world, but it has some interesting elements. Basically, this guy from, in quotation marks, our world is reading a book and gets transported into a fantasy realm. He finds out that because he gets transported with 4 other heroes, and they're the 4 cardinal heroes. I assume they have to do with the 4 guardian beasts. The sad part is the only reason I know it is from bloody Yu Yu Hakusho, where there is a tiger, a phoenix, a dragon, and a turtle. And they're supposed to, each one of them is like a different direction. I can't remember if it's Chinese or Japanese off my head, and I'm not going to research it because at the moment, because and I'm sure maybe somebody will say something about it. But it seems like essentially the different heroes are based off of those. I'm assuming the guy with the sword, the 4 heroes in you have the shield hero, which I'm assuming has to be the turtle, the spear hero, which I'm assuming is the phoenix, the sword hero, which is probably the dragon, because sword, dragon, Japanese, and then the bow hero, which I'm assuming is supposed to be the tiger. But you get to find out that they're all from different versions of our world, like different dimensions. And where they've been transported to is all a video game in their worlds. And, in our Shield Heroes world, it's a book. So it sets up a very interesting aspect of, he's a much more book-learned guy than, a video game guy. And it's really good. But some stuff happens in the first... Is the first episode? Yeah, first episode.
I think so, yeah.
Where he becomes an outcast. And I don't want to give it away because it's pretty...
Yeah, I definitely don't want to spoil this anime. It's too good.
Yeah, just go out and watch it. Please. I want more seasons of this because apparently I think it's ongoing. It's apparently a novel series and a manga and all the other nonsense. So
it's the first anime in a while I've been like, man, I really want the manga now. Like,
yeah,
I normally will read manga, but I don't tend to read it alongside an anime. But this one I really want to, just because I don't want to wait till the next episode. I want to see what happens, because it's so good.
Yes, and it's got cute characters, and he goes through hardship, but he learns from it, and he uses... Because one of the big things he finds out in, I think, the first episode is he is not allowed to use any other weapon than his shield.
Yeah.
Which means he can't hit anything. Even though I love what am I supposed to do with, how am I supposed to attack foes with just a shield? And I think I found a meme of Captain America sitting there laughing.
Yeah.
But that's all I can think of. Like, you see bloody Captain America? It's still big. Bonky thing. But you just kind of ignore it and move on, and it's got an interesting character, and his sidekicks are pretty funny and cute.
And it doesn't go into the weird territory of like, oh my god, stop, like some animes.
Yeah, at least all the relationships are among adults, even though it's kind of... It's odd how it gets there, but I mean, it's another world, so whatever.
Yes.
But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, highly recommend it. Another anime that we recommend is Chaika the Coffin Princess. Oh my gosh, this one is great. Not only do I love the main character, Chaika, because she just talks so funny. She talks like Yoda.
Yes.
And I just find that so amusing, but she's kind of chibi looking and just short, and I always love short characters that are cute and the pretty dress, But it's a great fantasy. It's got a really good story. Even JJ liked it.
Oh yeah, my biggest thing with a lot of fantasy series is they will never make rules on magic and how magic works. And no, this one it has its rules. It sticks to it up until the end.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting.
Yeah, it had a pretty decent ending. I would have liked to see more, but I always feel that way at the end of a good anime. It's just like, no. But yeah, it's great. Definitely go and see that one. But we've also gotten caught up on Ruby.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. I want more, but yes, very good. It's great. I mean... What more can I say? No.
I don't know. I mean, Ruby is one of those shows that, even though it's sort of kids, I guess.
Sort of, yeah.
They're finally grown out of being kids by this point when, your school gets attacked by the big bad evil and everything. But it's really, this season in particular, it started to go into the lore of the setting and, what the heck this has happened over the past handful of years. It's not so concerned about, this character is, this character is, this fairy tale character. It's much more concerned with its own lore now, which I like. I even liked it when it was just, fairy tale characters in a weird magical girls' school thing. It's gotten much better where it's just like, oh yeah, so we had this happened. I can't. We're gonna have to have like a spoiler section. Eventually.
Because man, there's so many spoilers with RWBY because it has some really good twists.
Yeah.
Like even at the beginning, like you find out certain things, and I'm like, oh wow, that's who that person is. You know.
Yeah.
I definitely recommend RWBY's latest season for sure. They've got a new show that we've also been watching called Genlock on Rooster Teeth.
Giant robots.
Yeah, it is awesome because JJ's always liked giant robots and
giant robots,
Gundams, and all that.
Yes.
And this has that.
Yeah, it's pretty bog standard. I mean, not in a bad way. But it's a pretty so far it's pretty standard. There's evil sort of anti-government thing. The interesting part is rather than trying to completely set it in its own setting like they did with RWBY, it's set about like 50, 60 years in the future. We've got big, stompy, like battle tech looking robots. And then also you find out there are these, more Gundam humanoid robots that start showing up, and our main character is a pilot of one of them. And then we start getting sort of the team that is, color coded for easy recognition. And there is like a Japanese metalhead that is one of the characters who's like the
he is so funny
brute. And he's just really, what is he, Kazu? Yeah. Kazu. He's really interesting. You also have a crazy Irish hacker tiny woman that is really odd, but sort of that is really interesting. The Russian or like Ukrainian sniper lady. You find out more about her history, and it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool, an interesting character trait. Let's see, that one. Oh no, that guy was a spy. Spoiler, I guess. But no, it has a good team so far. I'm really waiting. I can't wait till they actually get the more. In the intro, they have the different robots, and eventually, right now they're all fairly generic and look the exact same. But it looks like from the intro they get more customized and look similar to the individuals driving them. So kind of excited. I can't wait for that one because it's like, oh, the fights look a heck of a lot more interesting.
Yes, I agree. And I will say, I'll be glad when the annoying relationship thing is just resolved.
I've forgotten about that. Yeah, there's some nonsense with the main character disappears for reasons.
Yeah. And
shows back up, and his girlfriend, who is probably about to be his fiance or something like that, kind of moved on because they assumed he was dead. Blah blah blah. And there's this whole weird love thing that they're just not talking for some reason.
Yeah.
Even though he's like, yeah, I was dead. Can we just
see? I would be like, talk? Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're alive. To me, it makes no sense how she's acting. But I don't know. I mean, it's the same kind of thing we saw back when we watched the Lost in Space series, where it's like, I guess there are some people that do that, but it's just doesn't make sense to us because we communicate and, we...
Yeah, for those who have no idea, we'll do spoiler warning on this one because we don't care for the Lost in Space one. It was an okay show, but the Mr. and Mrs. Robinson subplot, once you find out, what he was doing, why, it was ridiculous. Because basically you find Mr. Robinson in the new Lost in Space one is... I don't know if he's a captain or what the heck he is, but he's military. And basically in the show, there's a big meteor that, shoots up a cloud of dust and is basically going to make the planet uninhabitable in a handful of years. He, at the time, doesn't know, I don't think quite knows this. He, instead of being forced to re-enlist in the army or whatever, he volunteers because he wants to go out and help people. Mrs. Robinson believes that, oh no, you just abandoned your family, did all this other stuff. And I'm just like, you do realize you married a military man who's like...
Yeah.
And then I love, it's one of those, oh, how dare you, do your job and provide this like awesome mansion for our family kind of subplot, which just gets annoying in TV shows because how dare you, business dad, for doing business and making it to where we can live in
afford these iPhones and
afford these super iPhone 27s or whatever. I mean, how dare you? You need to be here. It's just like, oh, okay. So are we going to go live in the cardboard box? No, you better get back to work there, bucko. But no, it gets annoying.
So
and
dumb.
You also find out that, well, Mrs. Robinson's the worst person because I think, didn't she cheat on him too? Or is that not, or is it she just faked Will's entrance into the thing?
I think she just faked the entrance.
Yeah, so she got her son forcibly onto the expedition, and probably he's the reason that, they've got into so much trouble along with everything else. But no, the rest of the show is pretty good.
Oh yeah.
The robot's nice. I like what they did with Dr. Smith, even though, we're going off on a complete tangent. I don't care. Her motive, they changed her to a her, so whatever. But her motivation was very odd. She seemed to waver from I am self-interested to I am bwahaha evil. Mm-hmm. And there was no rhyme or reason why. So she was just weird. Well, they're going to have a second season. We'll probably start back up Netflix. Well, especially if they start back up another season of Castlevania. Then we're definitely starting back Netflix.
It's kind of what we do with Netflix. We get it when we want it, and then we just like, okay, there's nothing else to watch. Well, especially when they've, raised the price of it. Just, ugh.
Yeah, which, I mean, they got to make money, but...
Yeah, if we're not using it, it's just wasted.
Yeah, because I'm not... I mean, it's great. Their movies are winning Academy Awards and everything like that, but I don't really care about them, because half of the ones like, I don't want to watch this, or something like that. I'd much rather... Well, the funniest thing is that Prime has started getting better movies, too, because we were sitting watching King Lear with Anthony Hopkins. That was really... really good.
Yeah, if it didn't go completely over my head, I would have understood it. But I still enjoyed just watching it. Like, it was really well done. Yeah. But I had to ask JJ, like, every couple of minutes, okay, what's going on? Like, I literally, in school, I love Shakespeare. I relied on the Cliff Notes and things to tell me what the heck's going on. Because, oh my gosh, the vocabulary, I'm just like, I don't know what this means.
Because it's not... modernized at all. It's literally the exact Shakespearean dialogue, but the setting is modern, and I've always been a fan of that stuff, and I don't know why I just sort of like forced myself to learn the weird little dialogue. And then I will admit, with Lear, there are times where there are some parts where I can't quite tell what the heck they're because I'm trying to use context clues in what they're doing, and I can't quite tell what the intention is. If I was reading it, I could probably understand it a little bit better, but sometimes the performances are a little... And then I can't tell what he's talking about, especially I can't remember. The brother that is trying to... the illegitimate brother who is trying to get his actual brother killed so he can, take over the family and blah, blah, blah. There's like a part where he escapes and I can't quite tell. And also the fact that it's played by the guy who played Moriarty in the Sherlock.
Yes, I love him.
Yes. Probably makes it even because I'm sitting there kind of laughing because all I can think of is, it's Moriarty.
Yep.
So... No, it was really good. Honestly, the stuff off of Prime, and then we got to find that awful fantasy movies that we're going to have to sit and watch that we also like really, really bad movies too.
Yes.
It's like called Mythica. There are like 5 of them.
Yeah.
Oh. Wow. When it's Valley Girl priestess. I'm assuming elf because reasons, and it's just like so bad.
The CG was awful.
Oh.
Just first glance, we're just like, okay, this is gonna need some kind of riffing.
Yes, this will be a whole episode watching through all 5 of them, I think. So
definitely. All right, well, that's pretty much what we watched. Now it's time for our next segment.
One of our favorite things.
So what is one of our favorite things?
Well, it is a TV show and books. Well, I wish it was a book series, but unfortunately she didn't get around to the second one.
Yeah.
Called Jonathan Strange and Mr.Norrell. Okay, so it is a fantasy series that takes place in Napoleonic Britain. Alternate history. In this one, about 400 years before the Napoleonic era, there was a magical king that ruled all of England, and magic was everywhere. But, 400 years ago, he up and left. In this setting, in this story, his name is the Raven King. And you get to find out more about him throughout the whole series, and you even get to see him by the end. But I think the reason we like it is it's a fantasy series. It was really good writing. Characters are pretty nice. Really like my favorite is Jonathan Strange. He's of the 2 main characters. I think he's the best. I also like the crazy madman magician with all the tattoos. What's his name? The Mr.Norrell's butler.
Yeah. What is his name?
I can't remember. Sorry, we're not researching this at the moment.
But yeah, it's a great series. I definitely enjoy the Fae just because I've always liked villains, and I feel he's a really good villain in this show.
Yeah.
Of all the villains I've seen in recent things, it's finding one that's interesting and not just I'm just evil just cause, and has an interesting story. Hard to find, but yeah, I love the Fae.
Yeah, he is really cool and creepy and just kind of an ass. But he thinks himself a bit more clever than he is, which I find kind of interesting, which is always a good downfall for a villain. Well, we've kind of talked about the series in general and the book in general. So I guess also we should tell everyone our favorite moment from the series to kind of get them on board with trying it out.
I would have to say that scene where it's Strange and they're just kind of fighting, he shows his magic and he turns into flame. You know what scene I'm talking about?
Towards the very end where it's him and Earl,
that is my favorite in the show, just because it looks so cool.
That one's really fun. It's towards the end of the series and a bunch of crazy stuff happens, and Strange and Norrell are sort of fighting with magic back and forth. It's really, really fun. Mine is Norrell. No, not Norrell. Jonathan Strange kind of gets enlisted by the military, and there's a point where there's a ship off the coast near where he is that gets stuck on, I think, a captain or an admiral or something like that. It says, it's on horse sand or something like that. And they're just sort of complaining back and forth. It's there's nothing you can do. Jonathan Strange is trying to figure out, okay, what will get it unstuck? And finally he gets frustrated enough that he just starts casting a spell and sticks his hand in the dirt and, making the ground quake. And these horses made out of sand start galloping towards the ship and knock it back into the water, so that way it'll still it won't split in half or sink or anything. And I just loved that visual because it kind of reminded me of, for the Lord of the Rings movies, you have how was it, Arwen turns the water into horses, and it tramples over the Nazgul and stuff like that. I've always loved that image, and that was a really good one from the show. So, yeah, we highly recommend it.
Definitely.
So go check it out. It's on Amazon Prime right now, at least as of when we're recording it. So hopefully it's still there.
Yeah.
One of our favorite series, and in one of our other segments, eventually maybe we will talk about the book itself, see if there's some differences.
Definitely. Yeah, I definitely want to read the book just to see, how different, if any. There's a lot of times you'll see like, well, that didn't happen in the show, so I'm curious if there's anything like that.
Oh, because I hope the book is a more complete story, because the ending of the show is just like, and second season?
Yeah, it really needs another season, and we don't know if we're gonna get it is the thing.
Yeah.
Because she's not writing anymore, right?
No, the original writer had some issues. I think she was diagnosed with something and hasn't been able to write in a few years, and she even had plans. It was apparently the next series was going to be about the crazy tattooed prophet and Mr.Norrell's butler mostly, and it was going to kind of be discussing that sort of strata of society. It sounds like a really great idea, but I don't think we'll ever see it.
Yeah.
Kind of sucks.
Yeah, but definitely worth a watch for sure. All right. So on to our next segment.
Controllers and keyboards. We're going to talk about some video games we've been playing, little bits and pieces and all that fun stuff.
All right. So JJ and I do tend to play a lot of co-op games when we're video gaming. We don't really like to play against each other just because that gets old after a while. A few games, it's fun, but, especially if it's a fighting game and I'm absurdly good at it, I feel kind of bad, and I'm just like, well, this isn't fun. It's kind of boring.
Yeah. I have one fighting game I'm okay at, Soul Calibur, if I'm Nightmare, and that's it.
But yeah, because of that, we're always trying to find co-op games to play together. And one that we found recently that we really enjoyed is called Citadel Forged with Fire. We got it on a Steam sale, and we're like, why not? You never know sometimes when they have mixed reviews. Mm-hmm. It's hit or miss, but got a good deal. I'll try it. Definitely like it. It's got all the things we've been looking for in a while with going around building a castle, but you can also fly a broomstick and use magic, and it's a nice fantasy with Minecraft kind of, if that makes sense. It's something I've really been trying to find for a while. We played Medieval Engineers before, but it didn't really have the fantasy aspect, so we kind of got bored with it. But this is pretty fun, and you can even do a little. It's kind of like a Quidditch match, kind of with each other, and I find it to be a lot of fun. I kind of haven't played it, in a while, but I'm probably pick it up, wherever just bored. But yeah, what are your thoughts, JJ, on it?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I will admit, I wish there were more. I kind of wish there was a co-op storyline, that there was a reason to. Missions to build a castle and build this and
that's the thing. You get these initial missions to kind of figure out how the game works, but there is no story really. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the reasons it can get a little boring after a while. It's kind of too much like Minecraft. But it's nice if you're just kind of I want to just build something and not really have a story, but.
Yeah.
It's fun. Definitely glad we got it. I wouldn't want to pay full price for it just because it needs some kind of story or, something for that. But other than that, you've also picked up something you've been playing on your own time. It's a New Vegas mod, New California.
Yeah. Got bored. I don't even know where I saw it. It might have been on randomly when I was pulling up Steam. It had... New California mod is available. I was like, what the heck is this? And it's basically a whole game, voice acted and everything, that is just a mod for New Vegas. I don't know how long it's been out. I I have no idea. It could have been, out for a couple of years now. But it's how to describe it. It's not awful, but it's definitely not good. But it has issues, especially in the voice acting. Forever you're like, okay, this is passable. This looks like a decent performance. There is a Johnny McRobot who's trying to be serious, who is one of your main companions. I mean, I will admit there was one annoying thing on one playthrough. There are some bandits that come by and basically, if I try talking to them, I get bonked on the head and, railroaded into dealing with the big bad. I'm like, wait, I can't talk my way out of it getting this? Because it doesn't even give you a chance to fight back. If you pick one dialogue option, you literally get bonked on the head and forced into totes not, I'm assuming Negan, post-apocalypse guy who's like slave trader and stuff like that. And who I'm like, wow, that was sort of lame. I could understand like, okay, give me the chance to fight back, and then just before I die, I get knocked out or something.
Yeah.
But no, it's a dialogue option, and you're dead now. Great, thanks, guys.
That's kind of lame.
Yeah. But, the worst thing is, I then reloaded it and started playing through where I just shot them all, and they died in 2 seconds. Because
oh my gosh.
I had gone through, the beginning part is a tutorial where you pick up a bunch of NPCs. I had a robot dog, a guy from the wasteland who believed everything was magic, or people from the wasteland believed it's magic. It's really weird. I don't know a ton about like older Fallout lore, and I think it was using basically Fallout lore from 1 and 2 to kind of flesh it out, which I think are set in a similar area. But it's like, oh yeah, everybody believes there's magic, and if you look around, you can find like a cell phone, he mentions randomly. But I had 4 companions, and 2 of them were giant stompy robots, so they all died. And also, the first house you go to, or first like safe house sort of thing, you get this gun that can just blow things away.
Oh jeez.
So no, it was just like so I tried it out. It's not awful, just sort of like that, dick around in it, but I'm glad it was free.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then you've been playing a bunch of a farming game, yes.
So yeah, I've had Stardew Valley for probably a few years now, and I play it off and on. I never had really played it to the point where my character got married, so I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try a new farm, and I'm going to marry one of the guys in the town, and yeah, let's just try this out, because I'm bored, and, I kind of want to just play a farm game for a while.
And then you got sick, and then you played it a bunch.
And then I got the flu, and then it ended up being something I did probably all day long for a while. But anyways,
yes,
I digress. So basically, I decided I'm going to date the emo character in town, because it was hilarious. I'm like, okay, I gotta date the emo guy, because, I'm kind of a metalhead, so I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna find someone that I like to date in the game, or someone that I can relate to, or reminds me of my hubby, because he's a nerd, maybe. So I've decided to go with Sebastian. Well, Sebastian, his problem is he's still living with mom, and he's a programmer, and they don't approve of his lifestyle and all this stuff. So basically you get to learn about all that, and he's super depressed. So, courting him, I get to marry him, and he's not depressed anymore. But yeah, it was fun just kind of going through that story with him, and he's got a motorbike, and he's a total rebel. But, now I've kind of reached the point where I'm like, I need to take a break from it, because not sick, and I can actually play more complicated games and not be really ill.
Yeah, Stardew Valley is a pretty fun game. I actually picked it up on my Steam, so we'll play co-op sometimes. And It's a fun game. I'm not huge into farming simulators sometimes. Mostly it seems like, well, because wifey's played it, she loves doing fishing mini games.
Yes.
I'm as good at those as I am at fighting games. And I got frustrated with, like, screw it, I'm just going to go into dungeon and go stab things and be done. So I eventually got kind of bored with that one because we were essentially playing two single player games and calling it co-op. So yeah, it's a fun game. I'll play it too sometimes, but I think Michelle likes it a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, I've played pretty much all of the farming games you can think of on console. I've played most of the Harvest Moons. I've also played Rune Factory, and I've played the Stardew Valley, and even some little, independent farming games. Like, it's one of my favorite types of games to play. I find it incredibly relaxing, even the fishing, and he just like, no, this fishing.
I could never do it right, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna go paint some bees or something. I'd much rather do that this time.
But
yeah,
lots of fun. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for controllers and keyboards.
I think actually that's gonna do it for the show. This very first episode. Woo!
Yay!
Well, thank you very much for listening to Nerdily Ever After, an Eternal Echo Entertainment podcast. If you like what you heard, check out our website, eternalechoentertainment.com. And hopefully, eventually, we're going to have a Patreon, so you can go there too. Please leave a review for us on iTunes. Our intro music is Village Consort by Kevin MacLeod, and our outro music that's playing over my voice here is going to be Dewdrop Fantasy. Thank you for your time, and tune in for another chapter of Nerdily Ever After.